Greeting, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you back after that short break for lunch and networking wherever you are around the world. Thank you very much for staying with us. It gives me great privilege now to introduce this segment and hand it over to Professor Yunus. Prior to introduction of this very important keynote, I won't take up any speaking time. Over to you, sir, to introduce Peter and the keynote as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again. Good to see you, Peter Holbrook. It's wonderful. After a long time, I see you face to face on this screen, at least, not physically. But I should introduce you by saying that you are a fighter in a more conventional way, you'd say, a social activist. But that activism was part of your life. Right from the beginning, you're coming from the background of Oxfam and Greenpeace and all the activism that one can think about. But you continue to do that, to fight the social injustice in the system. And you focused on the particularly people at the bottom, how to help them get out of the restrictions they have. And that's what led to the creation of Social Enterprise UK. That's the very purpose of organizing little enterprises at the bottom. And in the procurement system that you got so much involved. And the procurement system, to me, is a very strange system where the big guys only give the contract to the big guys. And that big guy gets to the next big guy, and step by step, the middleman creates. And finally, by the time it comes to the little guy, very little left because everybody else has taken over their share. So your Social Enterprise UK is, to those who are not familiar with it, I can describe it as a kind of a gathering of the little guys to fight their share of the business that it's in. And that you cannot do in a marketplace, because marketplace is all monopolized by the big guys. So you have to take the political route, if I understand your strategy right. And this political procedure, you bring the pressure on the government, pressure on the big companies to change rules about their procurement and so on, go directly to the people at the bottom. Sometimes it looks like the David and Goliath kind of fight, big little guys fighting the big guy. But you did a wonderful way to do that. That's what brought us together, closer. You kept on inviting me, and then I show up in the occasions that you are in, and we became friends. That's what so exciting about them. I want to thank Lamia to invite you, remember you, to bring you here to tell your story, what it is all about. Because you like the idea of social business, and you have communicated to me many times on that, and we talked in various conferences about it. But you will have to deal with many other types of things within the social enterprise. But you have not lost your confidence in the social business itself. So tell us how the whole thing goes. This is what we are trying to hear. And then you chose a very interesting topic, no going back, the UK perspective. And that will be an enormous interest to us, how you say it in the context of the thing that you do, and how no going back can be made possible. We are very serious about it, and finding you to talk about it, it makes us very, very excited to hear from you. Thank you, Peter, my friend, Peter Holbrook.
Thank you, Professor. And what an incredible experience it is to have someone of your reputation to recognise my work and to refer to me as a friend. I'm deeply honoured and deeply grateful to you, and of course all of the people at the Yunus Business Centre, particularly Lamia, who I've also known for many, many years. It's probably been one of the highlights of my life to build that relationship with you, so thank you. So I am Peter Holbrook. I am Chief Exec of Social Enterprise UK, and we represent social businesses, the sorts of social businesses that the Professor himself would recognise as social businesses here in the UK. We monitor them, we research them, we advocate for them, and we build networks for them so that they can succeed. In the UK, we have around 100,000 of these businesses. Many of them are very, very small, but some of them are very, very large. The Cooperative Group, which is a social business, was founded back in the 19th century. So is approaching nearly 200 years of age, and was set up by the Rochdale pioneers. We are a community of social businesses, and the energy and dynamism around this form of business is growing and is succeeding here in the UK. So the title of my my presentation is No Going Back. But before we go there, I just wanted to talk about three principal things. And the reason why I'm interested in social business is partly because I've worked in the private sector, I've worked in the charitable sector, and I believe that social business is the solution that we all need if we're going to address three of the main challenges we face, both here in the UK, but right around the world. And those challenges are inequality, protection of the environment, and the nature of work. So that's going to be what I'm going to chat about. First of all, I just had to drop this in. This is a picture of me and the professor back in 2015, I think. It shows to me just how quickly the world can change. We were actually in Myanmar to advocate for social business with the regime in Myanmar, to meet with Aung San Suu Kyi, and how very, very rapidly things deteriorated, not as a consequence of our trip, I would just like to suggest, but how rapidly things in our world can change. And I think the pandemic has also shown the speed at which change can occur, and the need for us to think about how the economy relates to our thirst and our ambition for social justice. So first of all, I'm going to start with some good news. Since the start of the pandemic, just 16 months ago in the UK, we've seen a 17% increase in the number of social businesses operating in the UK. That's a phenomenal growth. That's the fastest growth we've seen in 20 years of social business. That's 5,000 new social enterprises that are incorporated as community interest companies. That's 1,000 new cooperatives. And many, many more forms of social business that have emerged as a consequence and throughout the pandemic. And that's great news, because it shows, even in a time when I think we see so much to concern us around the world, that there are these seeds of hope that continue to grow and develop, that show us that we are growing and building, and that we have every opportunity to succeed. However, in the UK, we've had 40 years of growing inequality. And that's very, very sad. We see this kind of concentration of wealth continue to develop, and particularly as a consequence of the pandemic. That manifests itself in many, many ways, but you'll be familiar that maybe across the UK, across the world, gross domestic product, that in 2018, 2019, over 87% of new wealth created by the world was retained by the 1%. And that concentration of wealth is deeply damaging to us all, whether you're rich and whether you're poor. And no going back for me is principally about not going back to the extraordinary wealth concentration that we saw in the 1930s around the world. For me, that was one of the critical drivers to the World War that we saw devastate so many cities, so many livelihoods, that created untold damage that left generations searching for solutions in the wake of that devastating consequence. Inequality has perverse outcomes, and it's not just about the injustice of certain people holding wealth. It's about what that creates in the world, and whether that's conflicts or whether that's the march of economic migrants and refugees, whatever that creates, it's bad for everybody, and it's something that we have to address. In the UK, we've seen this kind of extraordinary growth in inequality. This graph here shows just how much a tiny fraction of our population here in the UK hold on to. You know, the top 1% in the UK own 25% of all the wealth. And that's an extraordinary amount of inequity and inequality that keeps people back from achieving their true potential. And across the world, we see similar figures, really, with 71% of the population owning just 3% of global wealth. And the next thing is climate. You know, climate is a critical issue of our time. And it's not just about carbon, although carbon is a key and critical issue of our time. It's also about nations like the UK exporting its waste to countries like Mongolia and China and forcing them to deal with our own waste and the outputs of our consumption. We have huge issues to address. We know that the climate crisis will disproportionately affect the poorest people in the world. This chart shows the consequences of climate chaos. And you can see the red areas are the areas that will suffer the worst as a consequence of the climate challenge. These are big, big challenges that we face. And unquestionably, it will force mass migration around the world. And so I want to say is that refugees should be welcome in the West, for their migration is often a consequence of our own economic activity. For me, social justice and racial justice and climate justice are all interdependent. Social injustice and inequality creates racial inequality, and it manifests itself with climate injustice too. So if we're going to create social justice, we have to achieve better racial justice, and we have to achieve climate justice as well. What we can see here again, onto the third issue around work and the nature of work, is that unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, is growing significantly across the globe. The pandemic has created a huge impact on young people, and young people are the people that will face the multiple challenges of wealth inequality, of environmental degradation, and work insecurity. And here in the UK, we can see a massive, massive impact of unemployment on young people. It's beginning to improve, but unquestionably, the victims of the pandemic have principally not been those that hold the wealth. It's been those that have already been experiencing work insecurity. And so young people in the UK currently are, 1 in 6 of them is likely to be unemployed as a consequence of the pandemic. And the work that they are offered is often determined by work insecurity, 0-hour contracts, the sort of gig economy jobs that don't really provide secure employment. So we need to unleash the skills and the talents of our young people to ensure that they become the entrepreneurs of the future. But they have to be entrepreneurs, in my view, that also are trying to resolve the big challenges of our time, the climate injustice and the economic injustice that pervades most of the economies around the world. What might that better economy look like? Well, here in the UK, we believe that we have to address the issue of purpose. Businesses have to serve a higher purpose, and that has to be one of human and social and environmental benefit. We have to challenge the kind of concentration of ownership. Much of the world's wealth inequality comes from the fact that ownership is also concentrated in the hands of far too few people. We need to understand that networks perpetuate issues of racial injustice and class injustice, and we have to ensure that networks are open to all people, whatever their backgrounds and whatever the countries of their birth. Sometimes networks can keep wealth, can keep opportunity, limit social mobility, and keep things as unjust as they currently are. And we have to find new forms of finance. Now, in the UK, we've done some work around finance and finding new ways to find capital for social businesses to develop and grow. But too much of the finance and too much of the wealth is held in the hands of multinational corporations and in too few hands of too few individuals. And we need a governance revolution too. So how are businesses accountable to the people that they're meant to serve? How are they accountable to their suppliers, their staff, their communities, and to the environment? We have to find better ways to ensure that governance is truly accountable. So we're really, really delighted to be supporting the 3-0 Club, this new venture that's been created just this year. We want to invest in that. We want to become a partner to your ambitions here, and we want to be your partner in the UK, and we want to spread the message about the 3-0 Club to give people great, great hope. So much of the inspiration here in the UK that drives social business is driven from you, Professor, and the work of other social businesses around the world. Collaboration has to be a new way that we scale our ambition and scale our impact to social businesses, and we believe the 3-0 Club is a great way to achieve that. I think I would like to leave you with just one message, really, and that's that there are so many things that unite us, but one of the things we have to recognise is that not everybody always operates in a way that is right. And there's a great image here just to show you how we can get things wrong, even when we're trying to do the right thing. From us in the UK, I would like to thank you to the organisers of the Social Business Summit and Social Business Day, and the Unis Centre for Social Business and the 3-0 Club. We really want to be your partners, your allies, your friends, and we want to cooperate with you, we want to support you, and we want to help you extend your message across the social business community that is here in the UK. Together we are stronger, and we are united in purpose and in ambition and in our values. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you.
You're very welcome. What a pleasure and a privilege it is to see you again.